Hi everyone, I'm back with another video. This is my March wrap up. I had to double check then. I have read 17 books in March. Yeah, we're not going to talk about that. So, yeah. Usually how it goes, Goodreads on my phone. Got all the physical books aside me, a couple digital, and we're just going to get going because this is going to be a very long video. So, to start out the month, I did give a good attempt at reading Wicked by Gregory Maguire. This is about the Wicked Witch of the West, from the Wizard of Oz. So this is about Elphaba. Yeah. I gave this 1 star. I actually DNF'd this at 32%. This was god awful. It was a boring storyline, actually not even worth finishing. There was nothing to do with the musical, but actually the characters it featured. Its first 2 pages were just absolutely weird and strange, and it just kind of made the whimsy of like the Tin Woodman and the Cowardly Lion, it lost it. So I didn't even carry on to apparently where it mentions Elphaba's pubic hair. Definitely not a kid's book, and this is being unhauled. So, then I moved on to Fallen by Lauren Cade. So this is a young adult romance novel? Loosely romance. It's a fallen angel kind of thing. Now this usually would probably sound right up my alley. But I only gave this 3 stars. It was just very, very insta-love kind of thing. I mean, Luce and Daniel were 2 characters. I'm taking the price tag off actually. They were very instant in love. The love triangle is very similar to Twilight, so if you kind of like the love triangle within Twilight, you'll like this. I don't read Twilight for the love triangle. I read it for the Volturi. Yes, I am that person. It was very overly descriptive in the writing, which actually was enjoyable in certain parts, which is why it gets a 3 star. But then became too much in other parts. It's a very stunning cover though. It was almost like the author was trying to make the word count fit. The romance was okay. The action sequence for the end battle between the fallen angels and normal angels was okay. It was kind of the only bit that was worth it, but it's a 7-book series, I've heard. It's apparently dangerously exciting and darkly romantic. It wasn't really very forbidden lovey though, which is what it was supposed to be. So that one's being on hold because I'm not continuing the series. Then, I should really put this somewhere else, but my eyesight is god awful. I got ever so slightly obsessed with Good Omens. When I say ever so slightly obsessed, I bought the Nice and Fairly Accurate Good Omens script book by Neil Gaiman. Now, before you even all kind of crack on with this Neil Gaiman accusation thing, I know about it and I frankly don't care. Okay? I already know what's done, know what's said, been and gone. Okay, I'm not going to stop enjoying Good Omens because of it. Because Good Omens, to me, is Michael Sheen and David Tennant. So, I gave this 5 stars, as to be expected. I mean, I love Good Omens, and I'm going to hold it like this because it is a very heavy book and I can't hold it with one hand. It's just such a good show. I mean, I binge watched both seasons. It's just witty. It's incredibly funny. Just the over 6,000 years of Crowley and Aziraphale pining over each other. I can't. They are in love, and it's obvious, and yeah. Crowley is me, and I am Crowley, and that is the end of it. And that is the reason why I've dyed my hair this colour. And that is my giant script book. And I am getting one of Crowley's quotes tattooed on my knee. It's happening. Not really anytime soon, but it's happening. I'm discussing it this weekend with my tattoo artist. Who's a lovely woman. She's done most of my artwork. If you want a tattoo tour, I will do that. Anyway, moving on to something a bit more grim. I decided to pick up Bath Eater by Kylie Lee Baker. This is the Evernight edition, and it's absolutely stunning. Normally I would have saved something like this for October, but I felt like reading it. This is about Cora Zeng, who is a crime scene cleaner. And the mess doesn't bother her because she witnessed the most horrific thing, her sister being pushed in front of a train. The killer was never caught, and she's haunted by his last words, Bat Eater. And nobody can reach Cora, not her aunt who wants to prepare for the Hungry Ghost Festival. And not her colleagues, especially not the slack-jawed shadow lurking around her doorframe. So there's a series of unexplained killings in Chinatown as well. I give this 4 stars. It's an amazingly written, gory, supernatural horror which is rich with Chinese culture. The story is filled with many layers, grappling with Cora's mental health. The dust jacket keeps sliding off. Racism that Asian people experience throughout the pandemic, as well as how the police avoided or even underreacted, and it's just a completely thought-provoking horror. And I would absolutely read this again. And again. And again. I love it. I loved it. 4 stars. Brilliant. Then my brain decided it was time for Shakespeare. Taming of the Shrew. Why is this so tiny? Taming of the Shrew by William Shakespeare. Such a mad marriage never was before. This is one of the comedies. It's Petruchio, who boisterously tames a rebellious Kate. This is a 4 star. It's not one of Shakespeare's best works, but it's up there. It's not my favourite of his plays. That belongs solely to Macbeth, for reasons many people can account for. And Hamlet. I've recently watched the BBC rendition of Hamlet with David Tennant, and Hamlet's up there. But I can actually appreciate the history and the significance this play derives in culture now, and what it did when it was around. But it reads with many meanings. I mean, as someone who has studied Shakespeare and who has a history of Shakespeare diploma, yes, I am that nerd. It left me questioning of what Shakespeare fully intended this to mean. Did he want it to be satire? Did he want it to be irony? Or did he actually believe women should be kept and be obedient? Which was a common thing in that era, but unless we can rack his brain, we will never know. And we cannot rack his brain, because his brain is maggot eaten. Sorry, that was gross. It's not there, his brain's gone. Anyway. Oh, I'm filming this at like 10 at night. So, yeah. Then I don't ask. I went to this, After by Anna Todd. This is a Wattpad romance, and it bloody well is a Wattpad romance. Tessa is a good girl with a sweet, reliable boyfriend back home. She's got direction and ambition and a mother who is intent on keeping her that way. And then she meets her mother's worst nightmare, basically. Harden. I DNF this at 33%. I think you can even see the crease in the spine of where I actually DNF'd it. It read like a short story trying to be something it will never be. I'm going to rip this apart, by the way, in a review, not the literal book. I'm going to rip into this. It's extremely poorly written. Looks like the editing barely even happened, or if any did, I would be shocked. Characters have zero depth, zero integrity, not a thing. As someone who is a fanfiction writer myself, I'm ashamed this even exists, let alone got published. It's problematic, it's toxic, glorifies abuse and anger issues. It reads like a Colleen Hoover book. And it can go. I've unhauled the rest of the series without trying it, so it's going. That was a 1 star. Then I read, on my Kindle, Mary Flora Bell, the horrific true story behind an innocent girl serial killer, by Nancy Versay. I only gave this 3 stars, because despite learning a lot about Mary herself and her crime and what her life is like, it was a very disjointed writing style, and there was a lot of skim reading, and it was repetitive. It didn't really work. Then I needed a palette cleanser, so I jumped into the actual Good Omens book, which I think we all know what Good Omens is about. It's 2 demons, Doomsday, an angel and a demon, even Doomsday, but kind of like the 4 horse people apocalypse. But they don't kind of act like an angel, doesn't act like a demon. We get the gist, and it's David Tennant and Michael Sheen on the cover. My brain really thought ahead when I bought this. I gave this 5 stars. I mean, this has to be one of my favourite books of all time. The humour, the wittiness, it literally everything. I mean, Aziraphale, Crowley, they are the world. They mean the absolute world to me, especially Crowley. And there's not really anything else I can say to this. Terry Pratchett and Neil Gaiman did such a good job with this, and Neil Gaiman did such a good job with the script, and bringing to life what Terry Pratchett couldn't, because he died in 2015. And apparently they misplaced the Antichrist. Imagine misplacing the Antichrist. That's just casual, innit? Oh, I just misplaced the Antichrist. And I thought, well, I might as well go on and keep going with religion. I jumped into Conclave by Robert Harris. I've never read anything by Robert Harris. I think at this point I was on a bonkers thing because I'd watched the Oscars. So this is about going behind the locked doors of the Sistine Chapel with the 118 cardinals that meet in the conclave to cast a vote to pick the new pope. I gave this 4 stars. This was incredible. It's just a wonderful portrayal of how the papal conclave works and how the difference between each cardinal and their views on the church and how the future works is impeccable. The ending, though, I was not expecting the ending. I don't want to spoil it because it's a religious thriller, but a thriller I would read again, and you don't get me saying that often. Then I read this winter. This is done in really weird order. But okay. This Winter by Alice Oseman. This is part of I haven't read Solitaire and I won't be reading Solitaire, but this is part of the Heartstopper series. I give this one 4 stars. It's just a little novella. It has great mental health representation from both Tori and Charlie. It also shows how ignorant other members of the family can be, and even immediate family are how people just, ignore things. I also like the illustrations, they're adorable. Then I we're on a little Alice Oseman trail here. I Was Born for This, which is about Angel, who is obsessed with the pop rock band called The Ark. This, and then it talks about Jimmy as well. It gives those two point of views. This I didn't enjoy as much as I thought it was. I gave this 3 stars. Jimmy and Angel both lacked any sort of character arc. I mean, it's not a thin book. And there was no well-written personality. I mean, Alice Oseman's very good at writing. Excuse me. But it just seemed to lack anything worth, like, personality-wise. There was nothing there. Not really likeable either. It was an overwritten, overdramatic plot, like an over-the-top fanfiction, written by a young teen who was desperate to fall in love with a celebrity crush. Though I did appreciate the mention of David Tennant, which kind of leads me on into the next one, even though that one's been on hold, which was Loveless. Let me find this in my pile. Again, not a very thin book. Again, the characters were bland, the story was bland. Lack of story arc, lack of character arc. You can see this is a common theme, which is why I've just straight up on hold radio silence. Other than George's discovery of sexuality, which actually even became quite repetitive and a bit boring, it did have good representation. I appreciate the inclusion of Shakespeare and the mention of David Tennant, and Catherine Tate as well got a mention in here, which is amazing. But other than that, I weren't keen on it. That got 3 stars as well. I ain't got time for meh books. Not when I've got over 1,000 books in here. And then I read City of Heavenly Fire, which is book 6 in the Mortal Instruments series by Cassandra Clare. This is the Fairy Loot edition. I gave this one 5 stars. This was the perfect ending to my favourite fantasy series. The binding's kind of coming undone. That's really annoying. I had to wait to get the Fairy Loot edition to read this. I've been reading this since last year, or the year before. Might even be the year before that. The battle scenes were amazing. They were epic proportion. Loads of twists, loads of turns, and every character had their own perfect ending, and I couldn't have asked for more from Cassandra Clare. I can't really hold this edition up, but it's such a gorgeous edition. Yeah. Then, this was when I kind of got in a weird thing of just buying books, so this was one of them. I've got a clear out stack for trying to figure this out. This is Wild Ghost Chase, which is part of a ghost detective paranormal mystery with this private investigator who's a ghost whisperer. This is book 7, but you don't really need to read the rest of them to know what's going on. This is by Jane Hinchy. I gave this 4 stars. It was very entertaining. It did keep me questioning who'd done the blackmail, who'd done the murder. The ghost aspect's cool. Her pets, Thor and Bandit, were nice to have in there. And it was quite funny, but it's not one I'd see myself reading again. And I don't think it's one I see myself actually continuing on with the series. It's just a little interesting thing. And where am I scrolling? Then, on my Kindle again, I read Credence by Penelope Douglas. Another 3 star. I'm going to preface this before we begin. There is 0 incest in this book. Nothing is incestual. Being step related is not being blood related. That's not incest. That's not how incest works. I don't know why people have got that into the head. This is incest. It's not. It's dark romance, yes, but not incest. It was just strange. It had some interesting moments, some entertaining moments, and some high tension moments, but wasn't anything, to write home about. It was a classic heartbroken girl with male characters who have tragic pasts. Nothing to woo about. I'm going to save one till last because I can't really discuss it and I so want to. I've got Call Me Maybe by Stephanie Chapman, another DNF. This was at 25%, a 1 star. It's a very quick moving romance, not really rom-commy, very quick moving in a dark romance way. They went from meeting online to then in person, then straight to having sex after that one meeting. So it didn't really give a chance to actually even get to know either character before even noticing a spark. So this is actually about meeting your teenage heartthrob. So when she was 15, she wanted to meet this guy called Jesse Franklin, who was the bassist of her favourite band. And she was single in her late 20s, and she actually finally got to meet him. Because of a chance encounter on her Facebook led to a transatlantic hookup. And they ended up having a love affair that spanned like 5,000 miles. But it didn't really make sense to make it move so quickly. Yeah, just wasn't for me. The last one, sadly I really can't say anything about it because it's for another video that I've got planned. But I did read The Master and Margarita by Mikhail Bulgakov. This was a 5-star, and I'm just going to say incredible. Like Good Omens, you'll like this. If you can understand Russian literature, you'll love this. Definitely one for the Good Omens fans. Or just religious satire fans. I can't really say a lot about it though, because I haven't read the other books that I need to film this video for. You'll see what I mean. But yeah. I mean, and I'm still reading New Moon for my audiobook. But not started another physical one yet. So I mean, that's all 17 books I read in March. For some reason I seem to be reading a lot quicker now. Still taking in the stories very well, but I seem to have kind of mastered this really nice pace. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed this, and I'll see you next video. Bye.